SmackDown post-game show. It is January 17th, 2020. I'm your host for the evening, Michael Wiseman, joined as I am every week by Matt Morgan, the one and only, the blueprint Matt Morgan. And special guest tonight, we have the owner, the proprietor, the CEO, the presidente of Wrestling Inc., Raj Giri in the house. Welcome, Raj.
Thanks. Yeah, filling in for Glenn. He's got a couple dates he won't be able to do SmackDown podcast over the next few weeks, so I'll be filling in when he's not able to. So it's good to be here.
This is a special treat, man. People ask for you every week in the podcast, in the chat room. They're like, "Where's Raj?" You're not doing as many shows as of late.
Well, I'd been in India, but I'm back. I was back on Monday, so yeah, I'm good to go.
He's big time in us, is what he's doing.
That's right. Leave it to us peons, right, Matt? Me and you, the peons of the. How you doing, Matt?
Good. Tired, but good.
Good, man. What do you think of the night SmackDown?
I was excited. Actually, you guys, I got called into Fox 35 here in Orlando because of, I guess, corporate-wise, enough was made that Kane was coming back to SmackDown tonight. I can always tell when something is hitting mainstream for them because they'll call me in to come, like, either do a recap on it or preview it coming up. You know, so as usual, whenever they do, I'd use that opportunity to plug everything that we've got coming up in my city here in Longwood.
That's awesome.
To do it, which they're always cool with. But it was cool. I was able to show a couple of clips of me versus Kane when he came down to OVW to wrestle me to see if I was ready to be called up yet at the time. And it was pretty cool. And I'll be honest, I don't know how the hell I missed it. I did not know Kane was coming back to SmackDown. And I was like, you guys sure? He was back like a month ago. He won the 24/7 title. Guys, this is old news. No, he's coming back. Like, we heard it from corporate. I was like, hang on. So I pulled up Google, and I'm like, shit, Kane is advertised to come back tonight. It's terrible. How do I not know this? And so then it was cool, though. It was a big – my point is, though, you can tell it was a big enough deal when all of their satellite, whatever you want to call it, local affiliates, rather, start.
Well, they did keep it kind of under the radar, too. I think he did come back for like a Raw, but this special coming back thing was not heavily advertised as much as some other big returns are. So it's interesting. I got a question for you.
Also, I could see the synergy there because Kane's a mayor and then having you on, you're a mayor.
Obviously, I left that part out, but yeah, definitely that's what they led with. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, Matt, I mean, how,
you're the only two wrestling mayors right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but in my head, I'm like, how the hell did I know King was coming back? When did I miss this?
Right.
This is a pretty big commitment, though, and that's what I wanted to ask you, Matt. Is to Raj's point about you being a traveling mayor or a wrestling mayor, I should say. How easy is it to like do something like this? To jump back in there, he's got a city to govern, right? And he's going to jump back in the ring.
Not easy. What he did tonight was easy, though. Luckily, so
yeah.
But the traveling and the time away, yeah. But you set yourself up for that. You make sure that you get everything accomplished that you got to get accomplished. The only thing is when it can hit the fan, it always seems to hit the fan. And all you need is your phone and your computer, things like that, and put people in charge of being able to handle the things that you can do. Your city manager generally.
Sure. Well, that way, yeah, you can get away and go do the things. And I think it's awesome. I mean, kudos to you for balancing this and everything else you do, Matt. And it's cool. I mean, I don't know. It's cool to see Kane back, right? So the show did open up live. I was going to get the plug in here. Greensboro, North Carolina, in my backyard. Historic arena, right? This is where the This Is Your Life segment took place, the highest rated segment in Raw history. So I was going to get that plug in there. But tonight's show did open up with Kane coming down and cutting a promo on The Fiend, right? And so they had this back and forth with Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse showing up and saying, kind of like they had unfinished business here. Mm-hmm. And then Kane got out of the ring when the lights went down, which I thought he looked really dumb to do. And The Fiend appeared. What was your take on this segment, Matt?
Oh, I thought he outsmarted The Fiend. He baited him. He baited him because he knew he was going to come through the ring.
Right.
And Kane has supernatural powers when lights go out too. And he didn't leave the ring. He teleported out of the ring. Let's get this straight. Undertaker can teleport when lights go out. Don't mess this up for me, dude. Don't ruin this for me. He teleported out of the ring.
Those lightning bolts are real that they showed on TV. They happened in the arena too, right?
Yes. Settle down. So my point is he baited him though. is what the way I read that and I watched that. He baited Bray Wyatt and to set up his buddy, his old tag partner, Daniel Bryan, to go in behind and do his thing.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned there in Greensboro, North Carolina, that's about a 4.5-hour drive from Knox County, Tennessee. So it's not too bad, or super short flight.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not too far from where Kane lives. So,
there's nothing you're doing there, by the way. I mean, unless he's making an appearance at the same time,
right?
It's this. All your work is being done on this and on your computer, your laptops.
Right.
And I would assume a Friday night maybe isn't quite as like you have to be on call unless something happens quite as much.
Matt, to your point, I agree. I like that Kane was outside of the ring. The only part I didn't like is he's outside the ring, but he's holding a microphone, waiting for the attack while holding the mic. But outside of that, I did think Kane sounded like if you had the video turned off, you would have thought Kane sounded a lot like The Undertaker at the beginning with the way he was delivering the lines. But yeah, I thought it was a super cool segment. Really liked it. Always cool to see Kane back, and even better seeing him with Daniel Bryan. It was just a great way to open the show. Yeah,
Team Hell No, I know is a big pull for you, right, Raj?
I was a big fan. I love those segments. You don't see segments like that anymore, where you're finding two guys who are completely different with just great chemistry, and it's been a while since we've seen that.
Yeah. I like too here they pulled on the history quite a bit. Kane talked about the Royal Rumble being his favorite night of the year, which, everybody says this time of the year, but he talked about it from the perspective of eliminations and what he's accomplished in that match over his decades in WWE. And I thought that was a really nice touch to sell this event and how big this event really is to the stars. Even though it's Kane, right? I mean, he's a legend. It still makes it feel that much bigger because he is a legend. So, all in all, I like this. Daniel Bryan does get the upper hand. He got the dreadlocks at the end. Matt, how are you feeling about, we've talked a lot about The Fiend on this show. How are you feeling about Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend in this upcoming strap match now at the Royal Rumble?
Fine. It's going to be a great match. I did not like The Fiend, running away from Daniel Bryan, though.
Sure.
Is that the first time that's happened?
The first that I recall.
Yeah, that he's run away from someone.
He may have done it as, Bray Wyatt maybe, but this is the first time I've seen him do it as The Fiend, I believe. Either way, even if it's not, I don't like it ever.
Yeah.
And they made a big deal about this on the announce team did about the fact that Daniel Bryan came back up with the dreadlocks. And I thought that was a weird thing there, unless it's kind of like, I don't know, in some way he's shedding, he's showing weakness was kind of my interpretation of that. So it seems like,
The Fiend cut Daniel Bryan's hair and now Daniel Bryan got a little bit back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of like his yeah, I could see that. It just seems like a weird, I don't know, getting somebody's dreadlocks is a weird thing. But I agree, Matt. Him getting away or running away does not seem like where the Fiend should be. But I like this. Kane could be interesting here.
A strap match seems kind of random. Unless, I did miss a couple episodes.
I was about to say the same thing. I was actually going to say, did I miss something that is making them have a strap match?
Right, yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, exactly. I would have expected, I don't know, like a cage match or something where he can't, be doing his spooky stuff. But
teleportation, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even just a hardcore match of some type where they can break down the ring or whatever else would be interesting. I will say this. Daniel Bryan's promo to set up that match. We talk about scripted promos in WWE, but Daniel Bryan, he cuts one hell of a promo when he gets into this. And I thought his promo immediately following this segment was amazing.
It was. You're right. Very fast.
Yeah. So we come back from commercial. We get to see John Morrison coming out. John Morrison back with his slow motion entrance, which we did not get last week. So that was very comforting to see. And we had Big E versus John Morrison in a pretty good match here. John Morrison goes over. Matt, what do you think about this Big E, John Morrison showdown here?
Dude, John was one of my favorite opponents to have like an OVW practice class. We'd always have to have a practice. We'd always have to have a match every single day. We'd do drills all day. We do all this different crap, right? And then finally we would end it with generally a 20-minute match every day. And John was by far my favorite opponent because John works better versus big guys. He can do all of his cool stuff, but he also flip-flops and flies around the ring for you on the cell when it's time. And he's just a very, very, very fun opponent for bigger guys. And I was like, oh, Big E's going to love this. Even though he's not going over, I remember thinking to myself, this is going to make Big E look better. He'll make Big E look good. I like that they went to a slow-mo intro. I'm like, how the freak did they not do this last week? What in the hell are you doing, WWE? You only have one chance to make, a second impression I guess, because it's back. But do you know what I mean? Like, how did you not start with this last week, you buffoons? Like,
that's one of the basic tenets of who John Morrison is the slow motion intro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had thought Morrison's return had been a little underwhelming so far, considering he's he's a big enough name that I would have thought it'd have more of an impact than announcing him as being on backstage and like having him be a big surprise for something.
I hated that he was on backstage.
Or not backstage.
What was the other one? No,
and the bump of all things.
Yeah, fired me up.
Yeah, so I honestly, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they had Big E beat him here, just because of...
Same here. I was worried they were going to have him beat him too. I swear to God, they don't see him on the level that he is all across the world.
Right.
They see him on the intercontinental level and nothing, no higher is what I'm fearful of with him.
Right, yeah. And seeing him out there, he just looked like a superstar. Like he has the look, he has the physique. I mean, he has everything. And so I was relieved when he beat Big E. That makes all the sense in the world. We'll give it a few weeks. Every now and then you'll see them give a guy a win the first week, and then all of a sudden they're beating him right off the bat. I hope they don't do that with Morrison. He looked good here. He looked great. It is funny that with Big E, Kofi, The Miz, and Morrison out there, the one guy that hasn't had a world title is Big E. Because Morrison, he's had the Impact World title and ECW. I know those don't really count, but Big E's kind of gotten that out there.
Don't tell Tessa Blanchard that.
Right.
It's a preview for later in the show. We'll get to it.
But Morrison, he's a stud.
Ehubin, I know we butcher your name every week. Thanks for joining us. Comments in the chat room. But do casual viewers know him? That's what makes me sad. And I think to Raj's point here, John Morrison does have all this. He's got WWE cred. He's got worldwide cred from Impact, from Lucha Underground, from everywhere else. And yet WWE brings him in this very low-key way. And I think it undersells everything he's accomplished everywhere else. And even in WWE itself for that long run he had before. And it seems like you're leaving money on the table when you do that. I think tonight's match, you guys are right, does get him closer back to that star power that he is capable of and should have. And they did this was a long match. They gave it at least one commercial break. These guys got some real time to work. They got to showcase a lot of great moves from John Morrison. I mean, he got to go into his whole arsenal here, which I thought was really good for this.
And to that point about if this fan base knows him, it hasn't been that long. It's been 7 years. So granted, there are a lot of new fans in that time who probably wouldn't know who he is, but the pop that he got and everything, and when they announced the match, it shows that a lot of people knew who he was, and he was there at a time when a lot more people watched wrestling and a lot more people watched WWE. Their ratings were like 3 times, or their viewership was like 3 times what it is now. I
will say this though, I said this on Twitter. The whole thing about John Morrison uses every part of the ring is starting to become like, y'all remember when Vladimir Kozlov was wrestling and Michael Cole would constantly say, Vladimir Kozlov uses every part of his body all the time during the match. They are starting to overuse that with the John Morrison. It's just a small nitpick there. It's like, we get it, guys. He's a parkour champion. Every part of the ring, right? What does that actually mean? So after the commercial break, they talk about how King Corbin, the stipulation for the night's main event, of course, was King Corbin would get to pick the stipulation if Robert Roode beat Roman Reigns in a table match. If Roode lost, Reigns would get to pick it. We got to see afterwards the Usos backstage with Roman Reigns and kind of this, seeing the team back together, the family back together. And they asked him, Reigns, what's your stipulation going to be? And he says, I'll tell everybody else at the same time. The Usos and Roman Reigns are back together. And I don't know, Matt, how are you thinking? I mean, this is where they needed to bring the Usos back in, right? As a tag team partner to Roman Reigns?
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. Can you put that super chat one back up real quick? I'm sorry. Disturbed Individual donated $2. Thank you, Disturbed Individual. He wrote, hell yeah, they know Johnny Nitro. Good one. Yeah, this was cool. But like when you're saying like back with the family, and we know that they're family and they grew up together and that whole night. But as far as like tagging together, I never really they ain't the Four Horsemen. They're not like the X or some clique that are like back together. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Right. But for the Usos, I like their new look actually. I just think you need to let them talk. I think you can't go wrong letting the Usos talk more.
Yeah, I think this is great for everyone. It gives Roman a spark. The Usos feel like bigger stars now, having been off TV for a while and coming back.
Yeah.
They feel bigger. So I know they had some issues during their time away, but now that they're back, I think it's helped them. I mean, I think almost all wrestlers would benefit from getting a little time off and then getting a little refresh. So you're seeing that here.
I think, too, these guys came back with a little bit of baggage, right, because of what happened with the drunk driving and everything else. We won't get into all that. So I think it was really important.
You just did get into it.
I said, I brought it up. We'll get into all of everything that happened.
He was found not guilty, actually, which is
right. And 100% correct. Let's put that out there just because Matt's right. I brought it up. He was found not guilty, but still in the fans' eyes sometimes, right? They hear the rumors online and that creates this aura of baggage. Even if it's fair for it to exist or not, some fans still view that. So I think it's smart, too, to bring these guys back with a main eventer like Roman, who has kind of been pretty bulletproof as of late.
Yeah, and if there is any baggage, it hasn't translated to television.
Yes.
It's going to be online, but on TV, they got huge pops. I mean, they seem like superstars out there.
Yeah, and again, let me clarify. These guys he was found not guilty, but some fans still like to stir the pot. So I think, again, I'm glad to see them being positioned like this and not getting any heat for that. We got the Usos versus the Revival. This match didn't get a whole lot of time, not as much time as I would have thought, but it was a pretty quick bout here. The Usos pick up the win. Matt, how did you feel about this match?
I wish this was longer. Like, this was a match I wish was actually longer. I could watch these four go all day. They're freaking awesome. And they have good chemistry. But right when I started getting into it, it ended. So I don't know. Great tag teams. Great tag team wrestling, I thought.
Yeah, I think WWE is just really trying to make the Revival look like nothing right now.
They are.
Seems like the Revival, their contracts are coming up in a few months, and they're doing what they can to make it, relegate them to look like just guys. And so
it won't work.
Way you do it.
It won't work. They'll still go to AEW and they will blow up. It won't matter.
Sometimes it has the opposite effect. It gets people sympathetic, to the guys leaving.
Exactly, man. Yep.
Well, the announce team did put over heavily. These guys are in a quote-unquote slump, right? And it did make the Usos look good here. So I hated that it was at the Revival's expense, but the Usos did look good in the win. Yeah. But they were putting over the Revival slump and how, there's Corey Graves saying how they're sliding for so many weeks. And then after the match, we got this promo being cut by Dash and Dawson. And they talked about how they've had enough of the way they've been treated, the way WWE tag teams have been treated, and it's time for a change, basically. And to me, this was a corporate promo. It was scripted that way, I'm sure. I don't know, guys. I think that we know that maybe they're upset with their main roster status. Could we see these guys go down to NXT?
I don't know, but they better deliver. You can't say that. It feels like I've heard this promo before.
Sure.
I feel like I've heard this 3 or 4 times from them, if I'm not mistaken, to some degree. So they've got to do something with them. They can't just I hate when they have wrestlers cut this kind of promo and then there's no follow-up on it. It kills that wrestler dead in the water. Heel, face, I don't care what they are. It kills the wrestler's credibility.
Wait, who cut this promo? I think I missed this.
So right afterwards, Dawson says if the company won't make a change and the Revival will, they have to make some kind of change. Dash says something similar. It's right before we saw Lacey Evans beating on Sasha Banks in the back. That got interrupted. But to Matt's point, they did say they're going to make a change, and I think they kind of laid it out there. It's the expectation something's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean...
And here's the other question real quick. They're saying it in a working way then, because what are you guys pissed off? You lost a match.
Right.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that it's not real and somebody told you had to lose tonight? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
So how's that going to change then? What are you going to do? You're going to take the pen out of the friggin' promoter's hand and just write in W after your name instead of L? What are you going on the paper? What are you going to do? That's different.
Well, if you look at it from their perspective, these guys are all fists, no flips, right? And Jimmy and Jay do tend to use the tag team stipulations very loosely. They both get double teams in there and all this kind of jazz. So in the heel's mind, they were wronged, right? Because the opposing team liberally used the rules, I guess is what you could say.
Okay. I guess. I didn't see. Is that what happened? And I just missed it?
Yeah, so they got a double. The match ended with a double team, right? There was like something that happened near the end, a double super kick, and I think that's what pissed the Raw. Even though they have a double tag team finisher as well.
Well, if this is all a swerve and the Revival actually re-signed, that could always, I remember suggesting last year that they get Arn Anderson, as a manager, and it gives them a spark.
Yeah.
So getting someone like that, getting someone to be their manager, someone like a little old school. Arn's gone, but gosh, who else?
Orton was the perfect one.
Yeah.
And he's still an active wrestler.
Right. No, that would have been a cool faction, but now Orton's on Raw. But, yeah, I mean, if they did something like that, it'd definitely give him a spark and get him back. In the mix.
They don't need a spark though. It's like they need to get W's, like 10 of them in a row,
right,
and go back to what every one of us know them as one of the most the best tag team in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Raj, you said this earlier, which is I mean, to Matt's point, wins and losses matter here, right?
Oh,
and WWE has this habit of using their tag team champions to lose, to put over somebody else. And so the champions lose a lot to make somebody who's not a champion look good. And it's just this really backwards way to look at it. That's effective when used sparingly. But like earlier in the night, we saw Kofi Kingston and Big E essentially lose, right?
Yeah. And John Nelson pointing out, didn't the Revival just do this like months ago? I feel like they have.
Yes. Totally.
So this segment was in
Natalie saying I would pay for Cornette management.
Cornette, I would not.
Me too, Natalie.
that would be awesome.
WWE's corporate structure would never allow Cornette to come back in that role at this time, right?
We could.
We had this promo was. There we go.
Disturbed
individual wrote Marty Jannetty will join the Revival.
This backstage interview was interrupted around the corner. Just fortunately, here we go. Mark is with the best quote here. Revival belong on Power, NWA Power. I would pay money for that. And we got to see Sasha Banks being beat up by Lacey Evans. Happened to be right around the corner. Thank goodness, right? That we could capture that on camera.
Did this seem odd to anyone? Like they're covering an injury or something?
Huh. Hadn't thought about that.
I don't know.
I was suplexing my kid in the bed at the time. I'm dead serious. So there was a little nuance that I missed. Maybe.
Yeah.
What makes you say that? Why do you think?
Just whenever they do, like, just Sasha wasn't in action last week, just kind of taking her out of the match. It seems very like a non-serious injury, like she's just not cleared yet.
Mm-hmm. I thought it seemed weird that Lacey would go attack Sasha from the perspective of Lacey's kind of a true blue good girl, right?
Right. It just seemed like a way to get Sasha out of the match, and so you would think that there's a reason for that.
Yeah. So after this, we got to recap what's been happening between Mandy Rose and Otis, and we got to find out that Mandy Rose wanted Otis at ringside later in the evening. So we'll talk about how that turns out here in a little bit. And then we come back, Bayley and Sasha Banks in the trainer's room, and that's where, to Raj's point, Banks has a hurt ankle. And Bayley's line here, which I laughed at, which I don't think I was supposed to, which is where Bayley threatened to make Lacey Evans a stay-at-home mom in a real aggressive and tough voice. So Adam Pearce comes out, sets up a match for later in the night, Bayley versus Lacey Evans. But again, I think Bayley here did not look as strong as they wanted her to look. Sasha looked like the cool, badass, heel here. She was playing up her new rap album. I didn't think Bayley looked as strong in this promo.
Yeah. Michael Edwards saying, I think it's teasing Sasha playing Bayley, making Bayley do all the hard work for her. I hope that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
That would be. Because Bayley needs to turn back babyface. Her heel run is doing nothing, and Sasha's great at being a heel, so that could be a money feud.
Well, this dynamic did feel like that in play here, right? Or Sasha's sitting up on the table, propped up, she's relaxing, and she can't wrestle because she's got all these important, she's hurt and she's got lots of stuff to do. Her star power is rising, and Bayley's the one.
She did tweet Sasha Lesnar. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Poking fun at how little she wrestles. So that was kind of funny.
So after this, we got Bayley versus Lacey Evans. They gave these two some real good time to work, and I thought Lacey looked really good in this. Lacey picked up the non-title win after the women's right. Matt, what do you think about Lacey Evans showing here against Bayley?
Great. Awesome. This is how she should be booked.
Yeah.
I think I totally think they should have Lacey getting the win. I just think they beat champions so often that when Corey Graves is yelling, "So and so just beat the so and so champion," it just doesn't mean anything anymore because it happens every other week. It happens all the time. That like it did not feel like a big deal that Lacey beat back, Bailey, and it should. So I just think they beat the champions way too often. I'd like to see.
She shouldn't be their champion either.
No, she shouldn't.
I mean, I think this has been really good for Lacey, though. I think they've given, I feel like, and disagree here, they've given her enough time to build up that street cred that a win like this, I 100% agree champions get beat too much. But also, Lacey's been given the time to get here that this felt like a bigger moment, not because of Bailey, right? But because of what Lacey has accomplished to get here.
Yeah, I'd like to see them pivot Lacey a little more away from the sassy Southern Belle to more playing on her military background as far as her her character and everything goes. I'm not saying she should wear camouflage or anything in the ring, but
I think they will, right? I think they just can't do it overnight.
Right.
I think they'll get there, but they
are talking. Yeah, to your point, Matt, they are talking about it a lot more.
They're leaving a lot of money on the table if they don't get there all the way, because that is money. And it's real.
Right.
And I also give her props too for, I think she's come a long way in the ring too. I mean, she was pulling off her timing tonight. Some of the moves she was pulling off go back a year ago and it would have just was not that fluid, was not that smooth. So I think she's put in the work. Yeah. As Sivan Varvar in our chat room is pointing out, Lacey Evans has improved so much in the ring. Matt, you're the wrestler here. I want to lean into your expertise. I mean, how do you feel about Lacey's evolution?
I thought Lacey, like a lot of people always say that for whatever reason, they say it a lot about the female talent. I've noticed.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think that's fair. I think that undersells a lot of them. And Lacey's one of them. Lacey was a stud from day one in that factory. Good Lord. At the Performance Center, she was a stud there. She was so good that I sent one of my friends there, 6 foot. Just jacked female bodybuilder there, and she was there, and Lacey was one of the instructors. She was one of the coaches there. She hadn't even been called up yet. So to be in that situation where you're helping initiate and run the drills of a tryout camp, it means that WWE believes that they believe in you, and you know a little bit about what you're doing. Yeah, because she's gotten way better. She definitely has, but she wasn't like me. Somebody who was like some wide-eyed, deer in headlights, jacked up dude who just got called up because he looked huge and wasn't ready yet and only had 6 months of training before being thrown in the Survivor Series versus her, who right from day one has been able to accomplish the hardest thing there is to do in pro wrestling, in my opinion, and that is throw a believable-looking punch. And she's been able to do it from day one on that roster. I mean, when she got called up too. I think a lot of people undersold her. But to that guy's comment, she has improved, but she wasn't like some ham and egg, as Bobby Heenan would say, when she first got called up.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And she, the one thing I will say, I mean, Matt, we've talked about this, like a year ago, we were saying like Lacey is a natural babyface when they get there. To me, it still seems too soon for her to be a babyface. She was getting really hot as a heel. She was doing great. She hadn't even been on the main roster a year doing that character.
Really?
Yeah, she debuted,
that's
last year with Becky after WrestleMania.
She's such heat too, man. She's such a good heel.
Yeah, I felt like they didn't get all of that out of her that
you're right.
Could have. So,
but I think this has more legs on it though. I mean, I feel like that she is coming. I think that was a part she could play, and then Raj, you're right, she was getting some behind it. But this feels like a more natural glove for her.
So then what happens is my question. They've got to keep the Southern Belle there then, because they're one day going to go back to her being healed. They should go from G.I. Joe or G.I. Jane, we'll say, back to, the sassy Southern Belle 6 months later when they turn her heel again, or a year later when they turn her heel again. You see what I'm saying? So I think maybe that's why they've not fully have her go in that direction. Maybe that's why we answered our own question even maybe. Yep. Because I've been asking that too. Like, why don't they have her go all in with the military background stuff? Everybody loves legitimate heroes and everyday heroes in our life, and she's one of them. Mm-hmm. Why are they not over? They're talking about it in the announce team. That's great, but they need to be doing more. I kept thinking each week.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I want to build on something you said earlier, Matt, too, about the way women wrestlers are treated. I think we do take for granted sometimes how many great, and Lacey Evans is definitely, she's been tremendous, but how many great women's wrestlers we have and how great women's wrestling has gotten. And I think we still nitpick it for whatever reason, but like you can take the women that are wrestling right now and go back 10 years ago, right? And there were some great women and there were some not so great women on the roster a decade ago. And it seems like now we nitpick even the great ones because it's kind of we have so many riches out there.
I don't think I don't know. I feel like we don't really nitpick the great women's wrestlers. We nitpick the booking, and how they're booking them. I mean, I mean, the way they've been booking him I think, has been pretty piss poor since WrestleMania. I mean, there's been nothing close to a main event on a pay-per-view.
I meant more the comment Matt made about how they evolve in the ring, right? Matt was kind of calling out how great Lacey was even when she came up, right? And people are still saying, myself included, she's got some work to do. And I think we just take for granted how much the bar, all these women have raised the bar so much in the last few years. It's just incredible.
I just think,
But to be fair, like what I just said as my comment, you guys, I mean, no offense, but you had no idea. You didn't know no idea that she was being asked to be an actual coach,
right,
and judge on incoming talent before she herself even got called up, which says she's ahead of the pack and going to be a huge megastar when she does get called up to SmackDown or Raw one day. They don't let any talent just do that.
True.
Actually, developmental talent that has not been called up yet. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Zook Enigma is saying, thanks for the donation. He's saying Lacey debuted at the Rumble. She still looks shaky. She debuted at the Rumble, but it was like Zook, when Rusev was in the Rumble, before
Zook,
he made
I'm just going to call you out. Zook, you're a pot stirrer. This is the dude who's in like our comments every once in a while trying to stir the pot. Thanks for downloading that.
We appreciate your money, but I think Matt's saying don't stir the pot.
And real quick, Matt, to your point about playing out the military gimmick, we've never, at least in WWE, we've never had a military gimmick for a woman before that I can think of.
No, not that I can think of. I'm sure someone will point one out, but not off the top of my head.
At least in WWE, or and I'm not talking about like Major Guns in WCW.
No, Major Guns.
Legit.
Oh my gosh.
A legit military female on a nationwide show.
So after the women's match here, we had an interview with Shorty G backstage, who says he's learned to accept who he is. And
Jesus Christmas.
This is again one of those moments where they were talking about the Sheamus attack and how that was unprovoked. She goes on about embracing yourself, right? So Shorty G or Sheamus walks in during this interview segment and acts like he can't see G because of his height. They talk trash at one another, and then Shorty G takes Sheamus down and kind of gets the upper hand here in this brawl, and it's broken up. Raj, what are you thinking about Shorty G these days?
I mean, he's there to get Sheamus over, right? Sheamus is clearly gonna beat him at the Royal Rumble, but hey, he's got a singles match at the Royal Rumble. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. There's not going to be many singles matches on that card.
So you think call me crazy. I thought maybe it might be the other way around. No,
you think Sheamus has been gone since April? I would think that.
You would think, and he looks like $1 million. He's, he screams main event talent by himself as a singles act, right? He's a former world champion. You're right, all that great stuff. But Shorty G, they got to do something with him, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, to keep it going, they could, have Shorty G beat him here, and then Sheamus gets the win later.
That's what they do with the 50-50 bullshit.
Yeah. Justin Lopez.
But that's what they love to do.
Super commenter here says, I still refuse to call that man Shorty G. You gotta embrace yourself here, Justin. Come on, man.
It's not himself. They're telling him that's who he is. It's his BS. Like the power.
Pointing out that.
Call yourself that.
Yeah. I did like to see that Shorty G took Sheamus down with a wrestling move, which I thought was a nice way to sell that Shorty G still has that technical acumen, right? He didn't punch him. He didn't kick him. He literally did a double leg takedown. He swept him down. And I thought that was a smart way to do it. Sheamus has got to go over here. I mean, I'd love to see Gable win.
All right, great. Listen, Black Bolt wrote Sheamus versus Chad Gable is going to be great. Black Bolt, do you really believe that? In your heart of hearts, do you really think this is going to be like a must-watch match? I don't.
It could be if they wanted to, if they gave it time, but
really,
this is going to be on the kickoff show.
Do we care about either one enough?
No, that's why I think this is going to be on the kickoff show.
It's not against them. Again, whenever we say this, guys, it's about like the creative not making. I'm just speaking for myself enough to care about these guys enough.
Yeah, if they had a real storyline and a real feud other than just short jokes, yeah, it could be something. It could be something great.
Exactly. Like why are you accepting something that we all know you're not accepting?
Right.
It does seem like, though, they want to position Sheamus as the guy who's going to be coming out of this looking like. I mean, Sheamus looks like $1 million right now. Dude is ripped.
Yeah, 6'6", whatever the hell he is, and shredded. Yes, he does.
Former WWE champion, former world champion.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear the interview he did where he was talking about some of the ideas they threw at him when he wanted to bring the creative gave to him and trying to bring him back? Because Sheamus knew the Mohawk was done in this interview, he says. And the Mohawk was done. He wanted to go back to his original music as well as original Celtic Warrior music, and WWE would not allow him. But Raj, what was it? They wanted him to like swoop over his hair and shape up his mustache, or
they wouldn't have the like a little short mustache, comb over his hair, to the side, and then wear suspenders to the ring. So
his comment was like, somebody in 205 Live already does that, right?
Right, with Jack Gallagher. That's basically what they wanted to do, is make him Jack Gallagher.
Yeah.
And
oh my god,
gosh, it's like the most stereotypical cartoony, character for someone who's been on the main roster for so long to come up. That would have killed him.
Yes. And P.S. 6'6", 2 whatever, 70, great shape, Jack. Therefore, he is a gimmick. He's pale, red hair. That's plenty enough to stand out. He doesn't need anything else. Natalie, what the F is creative smoke?
No kidding.
Mark said creative geniuses. I think Sheamus legit. I like where they're positioning him again here, and I think we could see him carrying the world title again within a year. And I hope they go that route with him because
Sheamus.
Yes.
I mean, he does look the part. I'm not gonna say he does.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they're past that, in my opinion.
Okay.
Age-wise.
Yeah, I think the fact that they put him in a tag team for so long shows that they've kind of moved past it.
But then remember out of like left field, they gave like Kane the title.
Yeah.
Like one more run in him there. Like Undertaker had the title too on SmackDown, and Kane I think won it on Raw, something like that. Yeah. It was like when they were kind of past their prime. But then it's Undertaker and Kane here. Like, let's not put Sheamus.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Sheamus is only 41. I mean, he's not.
He's 41.
Yeah, he's 41. He's only 41. So he's got, that's still main event level. You've got a few more years to really still be kind of in your prime there, I think.
Yeah,
so
but WWE is also cautious with guys with injury issues.
True.
Sheamus has had the neck and back issues. So
yeah.
I did not know he's 41. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So after this, we got an interview with Braun Strowman backstage, who, like all wrestlers, declared himself for the 30-man Royal Rumble and said he wanted to, he deserves his title shot for the Intercontinental Championship after beating Nakamura. This is followed up, and I'm going to kind of group all this together and get your opinions on it. We had Elias show up, was going to sing a song, got interrupted by Sami Zayn with Shinsuke Nakamura with him as well, and Cesaro. They kind of go back and forth for a while, and then they get into a brawl, and then Braun Strowman comes out and cleans house. So what do you think about this segment, Matt? It seemed like there was a lot going on here.
There was. They tried to jam pack 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. That's what that was.
Yeah.
And Braun Strowman should not be wrestling for Intercontinental title. Good Lord. He graduated this level, year 2 with that company. I don't know why he's even here.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting that he announced himself for the Royal Rumble, because I thought they were going to have him and Nakamura at the Royal Rumble for the title, because they're clearly building to that.
What would it do for him?
Nothing.
It's better on Nakamura than it would be Braun.
Yeah.
Braun doesn't need this title. He's bigger than this title.
Yeah.
Said, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Braun should have been world champion. He should be an 2-time world champion by now, in my opinion.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, I get frustrated. I'm sure everybody does. But when they put him in Intercontinental title and we're supposed to pretend that we believe he'll be excited about winning that, no, he's not. Wait, his butt with it probably backstage. Pissed off that this is what they're giving him.
Yeah.
That dude should be the whole truth and nothing but the truth as far as the man in that show.
He should be at the top level.
Yes.
Used sparingly. Yeah, I mean, not on TV all the time. The special attraction. Has world title runs, is always in that mix.
100% right.
Like Undertaker, you just pull him in and out as needed.
Raj Giri, with the controversial opinions on Twitter tonight, said that he thinks the Intercontinental Championship is the best looking title in WWE right now. Raj, or all of wrestling?
No, WWE.
Okay, in WWE right now, that the IC title is the best looking title.
It is a nice looking title.
Some people are pointing out NXT UK, but I mean, come on, honestly, no one watches it.
But I did, ironically, just watch it this past weekend, and I did know their belts in general are really nice on that show.
They do look good.
I am not as big of a fan of the IC title now. I think there's too much going on for me. It's like it's hard in photographs. It doesn't show quite as well, I don't think, because there's like black lines and it gets dark. And I like simple. I mean, I think the titles are too big nowadays anyway. But we'll talk about the Rocky clip here in a second. But back in the day, the titles were slimmer, and I just love that really slim, sleek, clean look. That's just
my favorite of all time is the Winged Eagle belt that Macho Man Hogan used to wear in the 80s. Yeah. But for today's belts in WWE, because they're all cookie cutter, they have the same looking belt for the men and the women on both brands, just the colors change. So,
and those stupid Spartan belts for the tag teams that I absolutely hate.
I hate those too.
Really nice.
Long saying nothing can compete with the AEW World Championship. I do think that is the best looking title in wrestling right now.
It is.
Kudos to WWE tonight. Had a nice little video package here for the recently passed WWE Hall of Famer Rocky Johnson. I thought that was a great video package. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to check it out because it was really cool. After the break, we had Sonya Deville versus Alexa Bliss. Not much of this match. Alexa Bliss did pick up the win partway through. Mandy Rose was up on the top turnbuckle. She got knocked off and landed in the arms of her one and only Otis, and he licked his tongue very oddly. Matt, what do you think about this segment?
Creepy.
It's very George Animal Steel Elizabeth, you know.
Oh my God, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Kinda.
What's old is new.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it really is. You're right, Raj. You may be onto something with this one.
They're setting up a little tease here between Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose to maybe kind of be parting ways pretty soon, huh?
Yeah.
It feels like that's what we're supposed to be thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Otis and Tucker, man. If Otis and Tucker part ways, I feel bad for Tucker.
Yep.
Oh, he's done.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
I think
he's good. He just
good.
doesn't have that charisma. He needs to change his look or come up with a new character or something.
That's what will happen to him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Otis if they break up too. Not because I don't think Otis doesn't have charisma. He's getting over this gimmick, which is again a testament to the athlete here and the talent. But I think once you pull away Tucker, you need that straight man to kind of work off the Otis dynamic. And I think they're a great tag team, and you can do comedy stuff like this. Otis by himself would just become a running gag.
It has a limited shelf life for sure, but I think he'd do well for a while. And then he could turn heel. There's things you could do. You can make him serious again. You could change him around. But I think this storyline could make him a star. Fans are into it.
Sure.
I don't really care either way, but the fans are into it, and it's good. It's helping Mandy too.
So our main event for the evening, Robert Roode versus Roman Reigns in a tables match where if Robert Roode wins, Baron Corbin gets to pick up the victory or pick the match stipulation for the Royal Rumble. Or if Roman Reigns wins, he gets to pick the match stipulation for the Royal Rumble. And this was, they gave this about 20 minutes here, a lot of big moments, a couple of interferences, one from Corbin's stable, and then, of course, Roman Reigns had the Usos come out here. But all culminating in, at one point in the match, they put over the fact that if they went through the announce table, that would count, which is a new rule to me. But they did put over at the end here. Roman Reigns did pick up the win by spearing Bobby Roode through a table. Matt, how'd you feel about this main event tonight on SmackDown?
I never like to see Bobby lose, obviously, but nonetheless, this was good use of him. This is what Bobby's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be wrestling, in my opinion, in main event matches, making the other talent look like $1 million besides himself as well. That's what he did tonight. Wish he won, but it is what it is. He was a big star tonight. He was the closing match.
I agree 100%, Matt. I felt like this did not hurt Bobby at all. If anything, it helped him, rubbing elbows in the main event with Roman, looking like a star. He just came across well. So, what you were talking about, you always talk about, Matt, maximizing your moments. And I thought Bobby Roode was doing that here. So, again, Roman's a top guy. You shouldn't be beating your top guys all the time. It should be, rare. So I thought this was good. I actually thought they did a tables match because that's easy to beat someone like Roman.
Yeah.
because the easy way because it beats him without really beating him. But
yeah. And that's why that was a good, you're not going to call it a swerve, but it was a very good misdirection in a way.
Right.
And because I thought the same thing. Maybe
Yeah.
that's their intent. They're setting up the mousetrap already for, or a rabbit hole for poor Roman to fall in. You know what I mean? For us viewers. And it's like, damn, they didn't go there. Huh.
Right.
I had two major pet peeves with this area. I think all the things you guys said, I think, Rude looked good. A lot of things worked with it. My two pet peeves are, again, when people do run-ins and these kind of no DQ matches, if you're the Usos, why does it take you so long after your opponent's feud or your opponent's stable has come out for you to get out to ringside, right? I mean, there was like this long period of time where Ziggler and Corbin had come out that finally
I'm going to break this down for both of you. It's not going to make sense, I promise. And it didn't when I first heard it. And the quote is, because it's wrestling and I said so. I mean, that's serious. Like, for instance, do you ever wonder, like, when a guy comes in, a heel is talking smack about babyface. Babyface fucking comes flying down the ramp, hits the ring hard, but the heel powders out of the ring. Why does the babyface stop with those ropes? Why does he not just climb through the ropes and continue to chase after the heel? Why does he stop when the heel powders out of the ring? And it's like, oh, if these ropes were in front of me, I would have got you, because there's why when we take a guy and we shoot him off the ropes, he actually bounces back. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many like what ifs. It's because of this world of wrestling that we all live in, and we know there's certain rules that we kind of have to suspend our disbelief for. And one of them is in this case, for instance, for non-DQ. Well, why aren't they down there the whole entire match then? Why doesn't he just bring the entire locker room down to the match? If he's the big dog and he's the captain of the locker room, doesn't he have more than the Usos then technically having his back? He should have all 40 wrestlers out there then.
That's a good question, Matt. Why doesn't he?
So this is what the answer would always be. Like Rip Rogers would always say, because it's wrestling and I said so. When I'd ask these logical questions that no one would give me answers to. And then they start using those examples I just gave you guys. So it's suspension of disbelief. You're going along with it to a degree. But ultimately, this was set up. Obviously, you see why to suspend everyone's disbelief, to build the empathy, the sympathy. For come on, are they going to come out? Is this guy's going to keep getting his ass kicked by 3-on-1? This is bullshit. Come on, we're the Usos. Gets heat on the heels. Bigger pop for the baby faces when they finally hit because the anticipation.
And Michael, I'd actually argue that it's more realistic that the Usos didn't come out right away, because it's less realistic when right on cue their music hits and they come out, because.
Would they pass them in the gorilla?
Right. That would mean that they're running. They on cue. They run, find the music guy, and like, hey, hit my music right now. Then go run to gorilla, and come out within that instant.
What about the heels passing them though on the way to go through the gorilla? Wouldn't they run right past them?
Well, unless the Usos are doing something, they're backstage meeting with Vince, or
That's why they're a little bit late.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they're late.
All right.
Chances are they're not waiting in gorilla
backstage. Who knows?
I'm a believer. Wrestling is I'm a believer again. My belief has been suspended, but I will get my other nitpick out of the way here. And again, all the good things I think I want to enforce that those things were awesome that happened tonight. Bobby Roode looking good, Roman Reigns getting the win. But I always hate it too. A false count anywhere match is the big reveal here. I mean, I get it. He's a good guy, so he picks a match that's not quite so brutal. But I just hate this hype around. We're going to pick a big match type, and it's a falls count anywhere. I don't know what I would have picked, right? I don't know. It just seemed like a little bit of a letdown to me personally as a fan. Like, a falls count anywhere match. Ooh.
It's a throwaway.
I know, right?
Yeah, it felt random again.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think like a dog collar match, like dog food and dog stuff has been such a big.
Sure. And that's when they screwed up by using the strap match versus Bryan versus Bray Wyatt.
Right. Yeah,
should have been
I'm going to strap you like a dog.
Match.
Right. Yeah.
Match.
Or if you had done like that dog collar match, you could have made the Fiend versus Daniel Bryan a false count anywhere match, and Daniel Bryan's whole thing could have been, I'm going to chase you no matter where you go, even to the Firefly Funhouse, right?
That would be pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just something. I mean, they're just picking the steps that they always use when it doesn't make sense in the storyline. But
hey, is the Firefly Funhouse under the ring? Do we know?
Could be.
Did Seth Rollins ever reveal how he got into it? That one episode, do you remember?
When he would have had to step into some portal or something, right?
Yes. It is a cartoon world. How did he get in there?
I don't know. That's Seth hasn't been the same since. Now he's got a glove and I don't know.
It's got a sweet faction.
Yeah.
So that's SmackDown tonight. Overall, I think it was an entertaining show. I think there, a couple of nitpicks you can always have, but there was some solid wrestling in it. It moved forward logical storylines. It wasn't a can't miss show, but if you watched it, I think you were entertained. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I give it a strong B tonight, actually.
I'm exactly the same. I just felt like it was so easy to watch.
Yeah.
Nothing was making me want to change the channel. It went by pretty quick. I thought it, probably the second best show of the week for me. Maybe that and Dynamite were, up there as the top two.
It's the pace of it too, Raj. This thing I noticed. It went by much quicker than I expected it to tonight.
Yeah, and that's the 2 hours, man. I think Raw, if you just took 2 hours of Raw, it would be such a better show if they had that every week.
So a couple of quick news and notes to get to before we get out of here today. I'll start with the easy one at the top of the show here. We talk about it every week. AEW versus NXT in the ratings. And drum roll, AEW's Bash at the Beach edition of Dynamite drew an estimated 940,000, thus beating NXT, who drew 700,000 this week. So that if you look at the numbers here, AEW is down about 20,000 from last week.
Which
NXT
is basically even.
Yeah, in the margin of error. NXT, the same kind of drop off from last week, so pretty much even here. But yeah, big win for AEW here.
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing, you're starting to see the numbers settle. Like they don't have crazy out of the ordinary competition, and now you're seeing and not really overloaded shows or anything. When NXT does a takeover like show, there's a good chance they're going to win, or when they have main roster people, things like that. But just a regular AEW and a regular NXT, AEW, this is kind of where they're at. AEW is in that mid 900 range. NXT is low 700s, and I think this is where it's settling in at. I was surprised that NXT didn't do more this week to try to come back from last week's bad number. Try to load it up a little more, but I guess they're sticking to their guns.
They're stuck with that tag tournament. That's the problem. They're stuck with that. They can't just not have it.
And they have a lot of those UK guys that people don't see as stars. So as great as
nobody knows who they are.
Yeah, as great as some of those matches are, people don't know who they are, and no one cares. So you could do all the kicking out at 2 and all of that, but if people don't care, they don't care. Obviously, a big week for AEW with the TV deal and everything. They're going to be making about close to $20 million more a year off of this new TV deal. It's $45 million a year, but they're not doing production costs. Before the production costs were being covered, that equaled about $26 million a year. So they're netting an extra $19 million a year. They're going to be profitable now, starting this year, which their first full year in on TV, and they're profitable. So that's huge. TNA never got there. It's just gigantic.
And the length of this deal too is really good for them too. It's through 2023 or 2024? Yeah,
2023 with an option 2024.
Yeah. Which I think is a testament to TNT's belief in the strength of that brand and what it's done for them. So
that's the one bad thing, at least for me, is they're going to be adding another show. So AEW Dark is now either AEW Dark or something similar to it is going to be on TNT. Tony Khan has said he won't do it against the NFL, so it won't be on Monday nights, Sunday nights, or Thursday nights. And, Dynamite's on Wednesday, so that leaves Tuesday, which has the NBA a lot on TNT, so it's probably not Tuesday. So then you got Friday and Saturday. So
they need to do not a magazine show, and I wouldn't even do Dark. I was saying they should do Being the Elite. They should do something that's different. Yeah, that's what they claim they want to do, is something that's different. We don't need to see a dark match show.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go on YouTube and watch. That's what it's there for. It should be there. But like Being the Elite or a show like that.
Impact did something like that for a while, right? They did the whole kind of behind the scenes, and
not like that though. Not like Being the Elite is. Being the Elite's really out there. But we did have a pretty cool show. What was that called? Eric did it. What was it called?
Yeah, it was really innovative, I thought, for the time, which is why I wanted to call it out.
Cool. Damn, what was the name of it?
And it came on after Impact, but sometimes you'd have footage of other interviews. It felt real.
It was like a mag. What was it called?
And Eric started stealing the main event, like the last 5 minutes of the main event, roll into his show.
Yep.
Smart and funny at the same time. That Dixie would just let it happen.
Yeah. I liked it. Hey, Matt, we were talking about Motor City Machine Guns last Friday in the podcast. Did you hear talking about? Oh, we're going to talk about Impact Wrestling. Did you hear the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions calling out, said they'd love to fight against the Motor City Machine Guns?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Alex Shelley's already.
Alex Shelley's in NXT.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying it's going to happen. This is not like I'm not promising, but we're talking about machine guns here. I figured you'd appreciate that. All right, 2 other big pieces of news we wanted to get to. So, of course, you guys, I'm sure, talked about earlier in the week the comments Triple H made about Paige, and Triple H owned up to it and said, "Do you have the comment?" He said,
Yeah, he apologized. He said, he tweeted out, "I've reached out to Paige to apologize. I made a terrible joke, and I'm sorry if it offended her or anyone else." So,
That's what you do. You say something you shouldn't have said. You own up to it, own it, move on.
Yeah, it was a dumb comment. He owned up to it. Obviously, as an executive, you got to be careful. So, but yeah, he apologized. It seems like Paige accepted it. So it's, that story's done.
Yeah, and there's some element too. Nick and I were talking about this on the Winkley. You read into that, and you read it as a line, and you're like, God, he can't believe he said that insensitive thing, right? But there's also this element of like, he's kind of just talking, and sometimes ideas just hit you. And
guys, I'm going to be very, very, very frank. I've heard that joke 1,000 times for both girls and guys throughout my career.
But usually you say it about yourself, right? Like I might have kids that I don't know of, or about guys. Like you might have kids.
I've heard it said. I'm not going to mention the wrestlers' names, but tons of male wrestlers and female wrestlers. I'm not joking. But this, back when I was there, when was that? 2002, 2003, 2004. Right. And honestly, in locker rooms as well, I've heard it. Playing basketball in college, I've heard that.
Yeah, it's a very common.
It's not dumbing it down or making it sound any better, but that joke that he said has said it,
for sure. And I think it's one of those things like if Dolph Ziggler
you don't
said it,
put it in an interview. You don't say it in an interview.
Right.
You don't say it at all.
Yeah.
Period. And he said that. He said he owned up to it. Blah blah blah. But anybody else in my head, back of my head, I'm going, I bet there's all these other people that I know. Yeah. I can list off the top of my head who I've heard say the same damn joke that's probably sitting there pointing fingers at him right now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't like is when I know people that have said the same damn thing, pointing their fingers their way at somebody who says something and slips up and says something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all judgmental. I'm like, you've said that. I've heard you say it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I think to me the thing about this whole conversation is he's an executive and he's towing that line between talent and executive, and he's got to learn to kind of rein it in sometimes. I don't think people took it to say that he was calling Paige out for her previous habits, and I believe that's putting a lot of meaning on this. To your point, Matt, it's a joke people use, doesn't excuse what he said, but I don't know that I would read into it that he said that joke because he was commenting on her history. I think he was just making a terrible. Do you think
he would have said that about Ronda Rousey or Stephanie McMahon?
I don't think he would say anything about either one of those because he considered. I could see him making that comment offhandedly because of his nature about a ton of different talents.
And you don't want to say it because then you're, yeah.
Right? Like, I don't think he would say it about Ronda Rousey or Stephanie because he walks on P's and Q's around them, right? But
it's something that I could totally see Triple H saying it back in the day in a promo, but, that was his character. He's an executive now. It was dumb. It was an off the cuff.
He did the right thing by immediately owning it.
And that is right.
And by apologizing publicly, I think that it was dumb, but he apologized. It sucks for Paige because I know she went through depression and everything with all that stuff that happened.
Sitting there chilling, minding her own business, and freaking boom! Like right? What the hell?
Yeah. And then it all comes out again, and then
leave me alone.
The internet, with the fans online, and then they're
like seriously, what the hell did I do? Like I'm minding my business. I'm here I'm doing a show backstage at Fox. Life is good again.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Like that's what I would be like. Like, come on.
I feel so bad for her sometimes.
And I hope that's the lesson that Triple H learns here, which is again, you are an exec now, right? Even if you wrestle sometimes, you've gotta be better about minding you can't just be one of the boys sometimes, right? Yeah. And this is the very opposite. I appreciate Triple H owning it, apologizing. That's what you got to do in these situations. Of course, controversy surrounding Impact World Champion Tessa Blanchard has been brewing all week, and she released a statement. That was released yesterday. Yesterday evening, she said, "I hope everyone will take a moment to read this. Over the last week, I have been accused of calling a fellow wrestler a racial slur. To read this allegation has been personally upsetting. To be clear, I absolutely did not use that word. That word is not in my vocabulary. That word is not in my heart. Racism is not in my heart. Yet I know many people have to deal with racism in a way I will never have to. Racism is an awful part of American history, and it is equally awful that it's still part of our society today. While I did not do what was claimed, I stand ready to use my platform to support the fight against racism however I can. Tessa Blanchard.
So, it's she said, she said. So, but Tessa, I know Tommy Dreamer was saying that Tessa at the time was dating Ricochet, and Tommy Dreamer who works with Tessa all the time, says he's never heard her, or there's an inkling that she's racist in any way. So but the other women who were there say she used it. None of us were there. Well, we'll never know.
I think my big problem with this statement is whether or not it's the she said thing, right? There's a lot of that going on. It also completely fails to address the fact that she's also been accused not just of racism, but of just being a general not great locker room partner for a lot of women over the last few years. And
so what? I've had a locker room guy with such big a-holes you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that you need to be apologizing publicly about. That's something that's you handle person to person.
Coworker that you had, or the job you had to apologize for not being overly nice to you.
No, I mean I 100% agree. You handle it person to person, but what they've said is that she has not handled it person to person. Because I agree, I don't want my beef putting out there.
That's their business.
That's their business.
That's
what I mean. Like you gotta come on. Enough's enough sometimes.
Yeah, not everything has to be drawn out on the internet and publicly. Public. Salvation and things like that. Sometimes people are going to be jerks to other people. Some people
what it does. It softens it up when something big happens. Like if someone really did, if this really did happen, let's say, and she did really drop the N-bomb on her and say that to her, that's horrible. But then the other stuff that's added in and saying, well, she was really nasty to me. She was really mean to me. You start to take away from what the original comment was. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, and someone Revolution 161 pointing out that Shawn Michaels was a big prick back in the day, and I guarantee you he's not issuing public statements.
No.
Michael, you're muted.
I don't even want to say what he looks like. He was just.
Oh, wait, you can't hear me because sorry, I put on my cough mic.
Kind of slow mo.
So I'm very animated when I speak. Shawn Michaels has not, to your point, right? We don't want to confound being a jerk in the locker room to making a racist statement. And I agree, Matt. I think what you're saying is going back and apologizing for everything, lose sight of this thing. But she has said she hasn't done anything. And I think my point is Shawn Michaels has come out before and said, I regret the way I've acted in previous
podcasts. 40 years after the fact.
Yeah, this way later.
Well,
this is after his career was over. He was saying that.
But he still did it, though. I guess my point is growth is
Tessa, if she says it, but you don't need to.
Growth is a human being. I will fight you on this all day, but growth is a human being. I think you own that. I mean, I make mistakes.
That's up to her, though.
That's exactly. That's on her to do.
And I agree.
I don't
want police.
I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like when people do it in a phony manner.
I agree with that. 100%.
Believe what they're saying. And it's like, man, I want to shut my computer down. We see that every day in politics, and it drives me up the wall. I hate it.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm suggesting either. I'm not suggesting a fake statement out there. I'm not suggesting that.
Be honest about it and just own it. People can identify with that. People forgive.
Yeah, and she did say earlier in the week, like she nobody's perfect and things like that.
I did see
but I think that even that comment was a little more like nobody's perfect, not like I've grown as a human being.
She doesn't need it, but that's not for her to.
Do. The N-word and those things, yes, you're but then how do we're running a podcast here, guys, like seriously,
right?
What are we going to tell somebody?
And I will say this too, like I heard those stories about Tessa back in
lives and what the
right. Somebody will listen.
And real quick, I do have one more thing I want to bring up, but like I did hear those stories about Tessa back in the day years ago, and that's why WWE didn't sign her, and that's why all these companies were not touching her
because
I have not heard those the past couple of years. All the people in Impact love her. Gail Kim, congratulated her after her match. It's just been, I have not heard a negative thing about Tessa from her current coworkers in years.
Gail is a straight shooter, for the record. I will say that. If Gail vouches for it or something to it, same with Tommy. Those are two straight shooters. They have nothing to lose by putting her over.
Real quick, Matt and Michael, did you hear Booker T's comments about Tessa winning the Impact World title?
No, what did he say?
He said
It showed up in my YouTube feed. I didn't click on it though. I should have.
He said it is the worst idea in Impact Wrestling history. He says that Tessa's really good. She's a great wrestler, but the intergender stuff, that's something that should be left on the indies. It's just not believable. It just makes wrestling look like a joke.
How far removed is Impact from the indies, I would argue.
Yeah, that is a good point.
I'm not trying to be a smartass. That's my old company. I love them, but they're not the same company.
I was talking to Ryback on his podcast. We discussed this. He agreed. He was saying the same thing. That it's just not believable. It's just, in when you're trying to do the equality with men and women, you should be trying to make those titles equal, the women's title and the men's title.
Yes.
And but by having the intergender stuff, if you have a man working a real match with a woman, like how they work with men, then that involves punching and kicking. And showing a man punching a woman, I just think does not play well outside of wrestling.
No, I'm in wrestling. I don't want to see it.
Right. I mean, you show that visual.
Time I watched a Ronda Rousey fight, I was very not sounding like probably sound like such a wuss right now, but it made me very uncomfortable. Yeah. Watching these two girls, I've never seen a female MMA fight before. They were killing each other. And I was like I asked my wife, we were uncomfortable as hell watching it at first. Well, I think it's like no big deal. We watch it every time there's female MMA fighters.
Right.
I think true equality too, to Raj's point, is when you're the women's champion, I wanted, if they got to interview Tessa in the post-game scrum, which they obviously didn't do, I wanted Nick to ask Tessa, why is it more important for you to win this world title than the women's world title? Like, if you've been a women's world title, like, you should want that to be the championship, and that should be the most important thing in the world to you, not winning the other gender's title, because that still makes it seem like women are a step behind the men. So,
did you see what he's saying in that though? Like, because Kurt Angle's won that title, Sting's won that title, so-and-so's won that title. I get why she would want it, right? But if, hey, women are, I don't know.
We've got to win.
Ronda Rousey could beat the crap out of most guys.
Right.
But UFC would never book Ronda Rousey against a male.
Brock Lesnar versus any of these guys, Tito Ortiz or anybody like big. No, but okay, Ronda Rousey versus, no offense, Michael, you.
Oh man, that offends me.
No, but you know what I mean. Any Tom, Dick and Harry off the street, she would kill him. That's believable.
Right,
I agree.
But
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Raj, before we get off the air here?
Dylan LeBlanc bringing up that Impact got banned from Twitch. I don't know if you saw this segment, Matt, but Rob Van Dam had the segment with Katie Forbes. And,
I did see that. So he's making out with her backstage with what's his name and doing a promo.
No, this was different. This was his celebration.
They had to censor it. Yes,
he had them both pretty much naked on him, and they had to digitize the Katie Forbes' boobs, and it was the raciest thing I think I've ever seen on TV. Probably worse than anything I've seen in the Attitude Era. It
reminded me a lot of some of those real scandalous skits we used to see back in 98, 99.
I saw something where what's his name was doing a pre-tape backstage. What's his name? Big Jack kid for Impact. Does all the high
fives. Oh, Brian Cage?
Yeah, that dude is jacked. Brian Cage was doing a pre-tape backstage, and in walks Rob Van Dam with his ballet, and they just start look like they're dry humping on the couch right next to him.
No, this is different. This was just this week. You check it out on Wrestling Inc. It's about Twitch banning Impact. So Impact has this partnership with Twitch, and they banned Impact from Twitch. Twitch banned Impact from their channel because of that segment. So
is Twitch a TV channel or is it internet?
It's kind of like YouTube, but more for gamers. And so for a while, before they got back on Access, that was the main way people watched the show, because they were on that other pursuit that no one has. So a lot of people were just watching live on Twitch. So,
like I said, Impact is not the Impact that I was at. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You got to see that segment. RVD. I don't know. I think his character is hilarious. What's that?
Why is he even there? Why is Rob Van Dam even there?
I guess if you can have sketches where you're half naked with porn stars, I mean, what?
No, they're not porn stars.
Yeah. No, but they're not porn stars. That's and I didn't. I just mean more the porn element of it. They're not porn stars.
No, it's his girlfriend. It might be his wife. They were saying they were married. So
yeah. No.
And then the other girl, he said that she's their girlfriend. So He looks like he's
In real life?
He looks like he's having the time of his life.
He
there.
does. Yeah.
God bless him if that's his deal. Good.
Yeah.
But again, why is he with Impact?
Probably because you work once a month. You can do what you want. He
ain't making any cheese.
Yeah.
They don't have any.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it, guys. I want to thank everybody who joined us live in the chat room tonight. Everybody listening, we appreciate you. If you have not, please give us a 5-star rating and a review on iTunes. Rate us, review us, follow us, subscribe right here on YouTube as well. We appreciate that. Appreciate all the support. I guess you would ask the question. All right.
Wait, real quick. Who's Rich Piana?
Oh my God, wrestling fans. He doesn't know who Rich Piana is. Rich Piana is a good friend of mine who passed away.
Oh, sorry.
About a couple years ago. He's the owner and proprietor of 5% Nutrition. I'll get into that next. You guys have got to come back and tune in on our next podcast. What's my next one? Monday?
Yeah.
Monday Night Raw. We will.
All right. So we will be back Monday night. He is BP Matt Morgan. He is at Raj Giri _303. I am at The Real Wiseman. We will catch you right here next time on Wrestling Inc.